Life's rough when you depend on me to give you weapons, items, armor, information for your journey, and still you still push it and try to hurt me. Life's tough when you're an NPC. Life's rough when you depend on me.
Hello everybody, it is World of Darkness time again. It's that time that I talk about my favorite gaming line and then harshly critique it. I have a really weird way of showing affection. I realized very quickly after rewatching some of my videos that I do tend to be a little harsh on World of Darkness. I think this can be attributed to the fact that for various reasons, I have chosen to do the lesser quality games first, mixed in with a couple of the greats. For instance, I have still refrained from doing Vampire the Masquerade, due to the fact that I am still unsure how to present a game that I'm just going to praise to no end, as well as my personal favorite game, which I'll leave a mystery for the time being. However, there is one line that is in both Old World and New World that I have not even touched upon yet, and that is Mummy. I love the fact that World of Darkness is a game line that started off with vampires and over the course of 20 plus years has managed to make a game based on every conceived monster mythos imaginable. Vampires, werewolves, mages, Frankenstein's monster, Prometheans if you will, fairies, even gods whenever it comes to scions, and so forth. However, what I find kind of funny, and I think I brought this up back in my Promethean review last year at this point, is the fact that, it was really odd that Mummy got its own game before Frankenstein's monster truly got its own game. It's kind of odd how we went to mummies instead of Frankenstein's monster when we already had vampires and werewolves. I don't know, maybe I'm comparing World of Darkness way too much to the fucking monster serials, but Mummy always seemed to be the odd monster out, and the idea of it getting the game before Frankenstein's monster, well, okay, it didn't anger me, it just made me scratch my head and say, huh. Either way, personal strangeness aside, Mummy is one of those weird games that's really the odd person out as far as the gaming line is concerned, so especially for Old World of Darkness. Because in Old World of Darkness, not only was Mummy a standalone game meant to be created outside of the overall story that World of Darkness was trying to tell through their gaming line, it was also one of the games where you pretty much put on the white hat and you were, by all accounts, a hero. Mummy the Resurrection was meant to be a standalone game in the classic World of Darkness line. Unlike other games in the line that focus more on the macabre sort of setting and reveling in the darkness to varying degrees, Mummy set itself apart from the rest by being a game, well, about good guys. For the first time, mummies were the ones to seemingly make you put on the white hat to face the forces of darkness. Mummies, brought back to life by the spell of life ritual, are reborn in order to face the forces of the Egyptian gods Set and Apophis. This was very interesting, especially considering the fact that for the longest time, World of Darkness really avoided the hero story. It was very much about the macabre, the darkness, the gothic parts of it. I mean, you definitely could have your hero, so to speak. Werewolf, Changeling, and Hunter definitely facilitated that. However, each of them was still dark in their own rights. For the first time, Mummy was very optimistic. Mummy was very light. It was very bright. It was very different from World of Darkness. It was almost like you were playing Egyptian superheroes. Or various other culture superheroes, but you get my drift. Really, Mummy spread its wings and took its concept to various places. Egypt, China, South America, with various different dynasties who had different goals and ambitions. It also helped spread the diversity of the setting as well. Get away from a very locked sort of setting. I've talked a little bit about at least the oddity that is Mummy, as well as a little bit of the setting itself and kind of what you all are doing, fighting Set and Apophis, as well as really being the good guys in the scenario, brought back to life in order to fight this great evil, and actually having a relatively optimistic appraisal about the situation. But really, here comes the very interesting question. Let's get into the praise and critique here, because Mummy is one of those games that I'm really not sure how to call it as far as being positive or negative. praise and critique can both fall onto the setting and the premise. I guess similar to the way Wraith the Oblivion. I can certainly applaud their creators for doing something new with the setting. While you can certainly play with the lighter side of World of Darkness line, especially in games like Changeling the Dreaming, most of it is set in a dark and morose setting. Even Changeling the Dreaming's premise was trying to fight off banality and the grayness and dullness of life. It is like fighting ennui itself. Werewolves, you pretty much play the good guys, but make no bones about the fact that you have come into this story, in this fight, where the werewolves are clearly on the losing end, and shit doesn't exactly look on the good side for werewolves in this world. Hunters all over the place is mythos, and is very much a setting in which the imbued are given excellent powers, but are completely screwed on organization, how to use these powers, and also the fact that the messengers were really laissez-faire when it came to who they gave their powers to. Mummy, well, it was the first game to sort of be, well, lit. It was the first game to really be optimistic. It was the first one where you played the good guys. But it is kind of a fair fight as well. Everything seems to be at least either a fair fight, a happy fight, or you could be optimistic about the setting. I mean, I'm sure you can play with the mythos yourself, and there are other ways to make it a little bit darker. But really, for a World of Darkness book, there is very little darkness in the setting, and whenever you realize it in the readings as well. And while this is unique, it still has a bit of a flaw to it as well. Mummy is often considered to be the odd one out of the bunch, especially in terms of Old World of Darkness for this fact. Not only was it a standalone compared to the others in the line that had a sort of motif going for it, it was also the one that felt a little, well, not World of Darkness. The game was too chipper, too light, too optimistic compared to the others, which can be the antithesis of why people even play World of Darkness to begin with. The unique aspects of the game's a little hit and miss as well. You have certain strengths and weaknesses just as anything else, but unlike other games, it feels a little generic, a little tacked on. Like, there's nothing that really makes me stand out and say, yes, this is really cool, or this is really awesome. Like, I can look at Hunter the Reckoning and the edges that hunters are given and say, this is some really cool shit and very unique to the plot. For this one, it feels like it's just a little bit of, well, generic, here's your strengths, here are your weaknesses, work with it. Overall, it is just kind of hard to place it. On the one hand, the game is unique, it is well made, and it does give people a taste of something different. It also kind of expands on the idea that, while there are creatures of the night all over the place, there are beings that are trying to fight the good fight. Hell, I'm even starting to breed a concept of World of Darkness Avengers after reading this, which would certainly be an interesting game to say the least. On the other hand, this game is very different. It is a little too different to be a World of Darkness game. The game is fine, but doesn't really offer a lot of draw for people. It is an esoteric game bringing in a certain group of people, similar to those before, like Wraith the Oblivion. This game has been straddling the ropes as far as crit or miss for me, and I'm still not entirely sure on which one I want to give it. I mean, could I give both a crit and a miss for it? No, because that is not the rules that I've set out for myself. This game either has to be a crit or a miss. So if you're going to pull my leg here, I'm going to give it a crit. Just because it is a World of Darkness game, it's still a fun game no matter what, and honestly, sometimes you need to put on the white hat every now and again and be the good guy and the hero, as opposed to just being the black-headed villain. At least it's something a little different. Thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe for more.